Good. How you guys doing?
Good. We already know that you've had you got to get you off the air here. I know you got a call with Francesa to break down the Giants and Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, no, 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 no. You guys are my priority. You know that.
We know that that's going to be good. But hey, you know what? There's a lot of issues here with this Bears team.
Yeah, we're struggling, Albert, big time. Offensive line looks terrible, and the offensive coordinator looks worse.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I really felt like they were going to hit the ground running based on all the work they did and how they creatively got got more time with Caleb. I would say in March and April and May and June to ramp him up and. Part of the reality of it is like that coming into the NFL, there's an adjustment, and I think he's going through that adjustment, and how he comes out of that adjustment will be interesting. But like that Colts game, like that's one where I think he should have probably played a little bit better. When you're playing against the Titans in the opener, they're unscouted looks. It's a new coaching staff. I think everybody knows the Texans are a really good team. Notwithstanding what happened on Sunday. So this is the one like where you would hope that he'd turn the corner a little bit more than he did. I think some of that criticism's fair. The offensive line too. I mean, again, like you sort of wonder if some of the bets they made on some of these guys are going to pay off. So really, it's going to be about like their ability to continue to develop those positions, no question.
Yeah, Albert. So could you kind of rewind the tape on Shane Waldron? I know this has to be the first time he's worked this long with a rookie quarterback. And so we're just wondering just your thoughts on Waldron, if it's an adjustment for him to work with Caleb and trying to go through the process.
Sure. I mean, there's like a little bit of a difference, I would say. Where he was in Seattle and what he did in Seattle, I think was pretty impressive being part of that group that, really resurrected Geno Smith's career. And it was like really no fault of his own that he wound up out there. It's just a coaching change that, wasn't about him. It was just about the organization turning the page in the Pete Carroll era. And then Mike McDonald wants to bring in his own people, which happens all the time. So, like, I think the people in Seattle would tell you, like, he did a really good job, the last couple of years with Geno Smith. And, even at the end with Russell Wilson and handling the transition. So, like you said, like that's a little different, right? Like, so like you got a Russell Wilson who's in his 30s, you got Geno Smith who's in his 30s, and handling those guys and building an offense for those guys is a lot different than building an offense for a rookie quarterback. You are much more able to kind of run what you run when it is a guy who's been in the league for a while, and obviously this is a little bit different, with a rookie coming in and a guy who's coming in from an air raid offense. So, I think that they've spent a lot of time figuring that out. And, I wouldn't turn the page on anything the Bears are doing yet. It's only been 3 weeks.
It's only been 3 weeks, but 2 weeks ago you had two unsuccessful coaches challenges. One of them, Ray Charles, wouldn't have challenged. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous to watch that. And then this week, you're down 11. There's 8 minutes to go in the game approximately, and you get a touchdown, and one assistant coach is putting up one finger. Eberflus is putting up two fingers. They got to take a timeout, which they needed at the end of the game. And he said to us yesterday here on the show, he was with us, yeah, that's directly on the coaches. Our communication has to be better. At some point, Albert, this is going to fall back on him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and look, like here's the deal, right? Like, and I think we know the score here, and I think Flus knows the score. I think everybody in the building knows the score. They've got the prized possession of a first overall pick at quarterback. They've got a new team president. Like the guys who've been there have been there for have been there for 3 years now. So like now this is their show, and how this is where they have the program going. And, I think everything when you draft a quarterback first overall is seen through the lens of that quarterback's development. So, yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal, and, I don't think Flus or anybody else would run from that. And I'm not saying the McCaskies are making a decision now at the end of September. But, I think, just the juncture they're at in their team building process. And, And then I think the pressure on everybody to get it right with a young quarterback, like, over the course of the year, what you want to see if you're the owner or the team president is, a program that's buttoned up and 3 years in looks like it's got everybody moving in the right direction and is like, first and foremost, creating the right environment for your young quarterback. So it's on those guys to create that. And I think that they would tell you the exact same thing.
Albert, the Bears will be playing the Rams coming up. Both teams coming in 1-2. What stands out most about the Rams as of late?
I would say, the guts that they showed against the Niners, right? Like, so it didn't go the way they wanted the first 2 weeks. There's no question about that. But when you start to dig through what they were missing on Sunday, now I think it was a credit to the Niners too for playing as shorthanded as they did, and I think we saw some stuff from Brock Purdy that we hadn't seen before, just as far as his ability to carry a team in a critical game. But I thought Sunday for the Rams was a real program win. They were without 3 starting offensive linemen, right? Joe Noteboom was out, Steve Avila was out, Jonah Jackson was out. They were without Cooper Kupp. They were without Puka Nacua. They were relying on guys, like Tutu Atwell, and they were relying on guys like Kyron Williams, who's a fifth-round pick, who's now in his 3rd year, to play bigger roles. And those guys stepped up and played bigger roles. Matthew Stafford answered the bell. And then their defensive line, like with all of these young guys, was able to get the upper hand in the Niners. That's Byron Young and Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner and Jared Verse, and like, so, you just, and like the first 3 weeks have been not great for them. Like, I don't think the expectation was they were going to lose to the Cardinals and take it on the chin the way they did from the Cardinals the week before. But to come back off of that with all the injuries that they had, I think it shows it's going to be a team that's going to hang in there and be there at the end. That's what I took from it. And the Bears are going to be facing the same sort of shorthanded group this week, so can the Bears take advantage of it? It's going to see.
All right, we have more with Albert. We got to talk about some of the other things going on in the league, and he's as tapped in as anybody. More with Albert Breer here on Kap and J. Hood next.
Watch football for long enough, you guys can see it, right? Like when a team's playing with real energy, and a team is like playing fast and believing in what they're being taught. And I think that's been apparent through 3 weeks with Dan Quinn and his team. And what I really like is like how week over week they seem to be getting better, right? Like, so, for example, last week they played pretty well offensively against the Giants, but they just couldn't punch it in the end zone. Was that a problem yesterday? No. Right? Like, so, like, you're seeing little things like where they're just getting better. And that's a team that still has some like pretty serious roster holes. Like, they need to get better offensive tackle, no question. Their edge rushers, after having traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young out of there, aren't very good. The corner position is still a big question mark. And those are premium positions. And they've been able to coach around that stuff effectively. And, God, does Jayden Daniels look like a star, too. I don't want to pour salt in the wound there in Chicago, like the way the last couple of weeks have gone. But, the one word that I thought of when I saw Jayden in the summer at their training camp was smooth, right? Like everything looks natural and smooth. And I think one thing you have to remember when you're talking about somebody like him versus, Caleb or Drake May when he plays is that Jayden was in college for 5 years. So he has just the volume of things he's seen. Now it's not playing NFL football, but, he was a starting quarterback at 2 major programs in 2 different major conferences. And I think it really shows with how comfortable he looks out there. He's just seen a lot of stuff and saw a lot of stuff in college. And throws just about the prettiest deep ball I've seen of anyone coming into the league for a while and really can run too. So I think you give them credit for building an offense that works for Jayden. Jayden looks super comfortable, and they've been able to coach around some pretty significant holes in their roster.
I got a couple other things for you, but the first and foremost is the Green Bay Packers have Malik Willis winning football games, which shows you how good a coach Matt LaFleur is. What's the viability of getting Jordan Love back this week because he is their guy?
I think it's on the table. Like I like look like last, like even like the week before this one, they kept him alive the whole week. Like he wants to play, right? And then last week I think he got closer. Obviously had some more time in practice. I think he's going to try like hell to play this week, guys. And I am so impressed with what they did the last 2 weeks. I mean, 449 yards rushing. Like if you're either of the teams that played them, right? Like if you're the Colts last week, the Titans this week, like what's the one thing you're trying to do when you know Malik Willis is going to be the quarterback and Jordan Love probably won't be, right? What's the one thing you're going to try to stop? Is the run,
Yes.
right? And yet somehow they're still able to churn out 449 yards rushing in their 2 weeks. It's just mind-blowing. And, I don't think Matt LaFleur has gotten the credit he deserves. He's got the X's and O's down. He knows how to push the right buttons with his team. I mean, the people skills he exhibited in managing the Rodgers thing, when Rodgers really clashed at the front office, I thought was super impressive. Over the 4 years, the 4 years that he and Rodgers were together, I'm just impressed all the way around with LaFleur. And look, guys, they should be better coming out of what they've done the last couple of what they've done the last couple of weeks, where they've had to learn to play without Jordan Love. I think oftentimes when you have to play left, you develop sort of a new muscle that can serve you when you get somebody so important like Jordan Love back.
Hey, man, have a good rest of your week. We'll be watching you Thursday. Talk to you next week.